Congratulations to the Chiefs who make it through. Direwolves looking like they could have taken that back. The first 3 quarters of that game, Jews, looked like Direwolves had it in hand. They were setting up for the reverse sweep, and it just was not meant to be. But that was the playoff game that we needed tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that Direwolves were in control of that game for about 99% of it. You know, Chiefs looked a little bit allergic to minion waves at certain points in that game, and they were just fighting around incorrect waves, right? And, you know, this probably comes a lot down to the actual individual ability of the Direwolves, and why they're so good is because, you know, Fiora, Chippy's on that Fiora is going to skill check you 9 times out of 10 and put a lot of pressure on in that side lane. And the way that Vital and Decoy were laning extremely well just created so much pressure and that significant gold lead we saw. But, I mean, you can just never count the Chiefs out. The amount of flanks Claire found to bring his team back into the game, as well as Tien, was just amazing to watch.
And I actually think, Juves, and I'm just throwing a hypothetical out there because it could be completely wrong, but the way that, because Chiefs played a aggressive top laner, you know, melee bruiser top laner, and a carry jungler, and Direwolves played the exact same thing. But when I look at how the Direwolves comp wanted to play, Fiora definitely wants to side lane more than Camille wants to side lane. And Graves wants to play 2v2s and 3v3s more than Karthus wants to play 2v2s and 3v3s.
Yep.
So there's a little part of me that wonders, did the Chiefs deliberately sack this Fiora side lane for the last part of that game? Because they just realized that if we ever tried to go down there and fight the 2v2, we actually are in a situation right now where we probably don't win it. Like, Fiora is 100 CS up. Like, the Graves at that stage of the game with Red Smite would 1v1 or 2v2 like nearly anyone on Summoner's Rift, whereas they were constantly able to get these like double flanks and dive onto the back line, and it seemed like Vital didn't get the message. Like, you have a team fight and you're like, okay, how did we lose that team fight? Well, we got dove and you went in. So next time we get dove, just kill the people that dove us. And like Vital was like, okay. And then like next team fight happens and the backline gets dove and Vital goes in again and tries to 1v3 again. And it just stopped working time and time again. And I think the Chiefs just recognized that and said, okay, never go side, only 5v5 team fight.
Yeah, Vital dove so hard that game, he actually got his license for scuba diving. So we'll probably see him just scuba diving next week. But
check it out, the Nautilus.
I mean, you're just correct. Like, the thing is, Kai'Sa as an ADC has a unique kit where you do have actually backline access and you can assassinate targets. But unfortunately, that was a game where you just need to adapt and you need to just say, okay, we'll just front to back and we'll probably win, because the game really felt like it was in a state where just a pure front to back. I know compositionally, yes, it's different, but in a pure front to back, it felt like the Divers were winning because they did have a 6k gold lead. And it just felt like time after time, mis-execution in team fights, throwing just that little bit too much, and that's ultimately what happened.
Because every now and again, Nick, and I'm sure Juice has had this situation because he's worked with young players as well. Every now and again, you just have to remind players of the complete kit of a champion. Because yes, Kai'Sa does have the ability to gain backline access, but it also gives her about an 800 damage shield to be able to deal with the frontline players as well. And this is what I was saying about Katsuri's arrows. Like, yes, you can arrow the backline, and that's a great way to get the team fight started. But if you hit someone point blank, it also just stuns them for a second and a half, and you can look to blow that person up. And I think that those games, those best of fives, are about the minute adaptations that we probably never even think about. But the players in the game, they feel the flow state of the game. And I just think that, you know, at a certain point, Thien and Claire said, you know what, we're better team fighters than them. They might be better one-on-one players. Like, Shock's an insane player. Chippies is an insane player. But we're just way more decisive, and our teamwork is so good that if we just keep bringing the game down to a base level of, like, silver solo queue of, like, 5v5 team fights out of major objectives, we will eventually win the game because we are better team fighters. And look, they degraded the crap out of League of Legends there. That wasn't pretty by any stretch of the imagination. But ultimately, that's just what you have to get done. You just have to be able to get the dub at the end of the day.
You're not uploading that game to your YouTube channel and saying educational 5v5, how to play minion waves correctly in a side lane group and team fight. It's just sometimes you need to just have that, you know, that hard grit League of Legends where it's not pretty, but it gets the job done.
So obviously Direwolves now, this is not the way that they wanted their split to end. And I mean, certainly halfway through this split, they were looking very strong. They were climbing up. It was feeling like they could have taken on Legacy for that top spot at some points. Spawn, how would you define Direwolves split? And also, what do they need to work on for next year? Obviously, there will be some roster changes, we assume. But like, as a team, what were they missing? What was the cohesion? What was the communication?
Yeah, honestly, it's a really hard one to be able to judge. And I don't know whether Juves has any opinions on this, because when you look at them, when they play on their good day, like, they look insane. And I've called them on multiple weeks when they've, like, gone 2-0, the best team in the OPL. you look at the individual skill of the top side of the map, and you think that should be the best top side in the OPL, bar none. They have like insane carry top laner that now can play some tanks. You have really good carry jungler that once again plays some tanks, and I think that Shock's really good. Their bottom lane has been really inconsistent. I'm happy they gave Decoy the whole split because I'm a Decoy fan. He had a really good actual best of 5 now, I think. I actually think he played a really, really good series, but it just seems like there's something not there clicking. And when that's the case, I assume it's synergy. Like, when you look at the team on paper and you say, this should be a top 2 team, and then you look at how they're playing as individuals throughout laning phases and stuff like that and their stats, and you say, okay, their stats are that of the top 2 team as well. When they start losing games, when you finish 5th and then bow out of the playoffs against the Chiefs that had also a rocky year, I think you just say, you know what, the players just can't play the game together. Like, you look at Order in 2017, or whenever we started, 2018, that team on paper was insane. But at the end of the day, too many people wanted resources, and you had to blow it up, and we had to go with a utility AD carry. And we did better once we'd done that. Sometimes 5 players just don't work when you put them on the same team.
Yeah, we had to sack the guy that beat Double Lift.
To be fair, I wanted him back, but he said no to me. So
no,
job,
but I actually just completely agree with Jake. It's sometimes, well, okay, there's no surprise that Direwolves lost their, one of their coaches midway through the split too. And I think maybe they suffered a little bit in that department, maybe not having all the resources that they wanted, off Summoner's Rift in terms of you can be the best players you want, but there needs to be a coach or there needs to be someone to kind of, make that team whole. And I think that's where Direwolves lacked. And I think if they can invest in a really good coach, because again, losing someone like, this is going way back, but losing someone like Curtis, who was their main kind of like stability and built the team around the way that he believed the game should be played, was always what Direwolves had. But it's kind of almost like a whole restructure, a whole rebuild. They finished 5th, with some of the best players on our server. So they need to go back to the drawing board and really invest in some coaching staff.
Yeah. Well, that's a goodbye to Direwolves, and we certainly hope that those guys can take this one on the chin, pick themselves up, and be able to feel a bit better about themselves after a couple of days. But it's going to sting for a while, but you're going to get through it, and it's okay. And this is an opportunity to get better before the next.
There is only one way to get through this kind of catastrophe, and Jubes knows exactly what I'm about to say. Like,
you retire.
What you need to do is you need to no, you don't retire. You need to go get junk food, and you need to find a game not League of Legends. Yeah. And you need to find the people in the league that you're actually friends with, because sometimes that's your teammates and sometimes that's not your teammates. And you just need to binge video games from like midnight till 9 a.m. and sleep during the day like a goblin. Yeah. It's the only thing that pulls you out of the melancholy of like losing a split that you felt like you should have won.
Yeah, I did do that. I did put on 10 kilos and I had to lose that weight because it caused health problems. So I will say, you need to focus on the exercise aspect too. But I do agree, binge eating and just playing some video games will make you a lot happier.
And if that doesn't work, you can just retire.
I did it. It worked for me. Look at me now.
Look at you now. You're back.
Look at me now. I'm working a normal job.
I don't even know where to take this. So I'll take this to two teams that don't want to retire. We've got Order and PGG coming up. And these are two teams that have certainly had this split some real moments where they've shone. Order, obviously, for the last couple of years, have nearly made it so often. This is the Order story of just getting up there nearly every single time and then being felled at the last post. PGG, last split, not what they wanted from their split, but this one obviously coming in so much stronger. Juves, I'll start with you. How do we feel about this matchup? Who do you think is going to take it out?
So, look, when you have a server and when you have a region, there's only so many best players. You can only have a rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I feel that Pentanet as a team, they don't necessarily have the most mechanically skilled players, and that's not an insult by any means. But what they do very well is they're one of the best teams. They actually make plays cross-map, trade sides very efficiently, and they just play the map extremely well. And when it comes to team fights, they actually just all know their job and do their job. So for Pentanet, I think, need to just make it out of lane phase, get to where they can use their macro and use their team fighting and actually their understanding of the game. Whereas I think Order have a little bit more flair, a little bit more resources to put on their jungler, more carry performances coming out of Only, and they probably have more of a reliance on, coming out of lane strong and playing to their jungler. And I think that's where we'll see the differences.
Yeah, I kind of view this game as like kind of what we saw in that last game, where if this game goes at a kill a minute, if you just turn off everything, right, and you just leave the kills at the top line, if this game goes at a kill a minute, you would assume that Order will 3-0 this series. If this game goes at, 10 kills in a game, you would assume Pentanet is 3-0 this series.
Yeah.
I think it's as simple as what Juves is saying. Order need to fight around objectives to get leads. That's what they've shown. So I think that what I'm expecting out of Order is really solid setup around objectives, and what I'm expecting from Pentanet is to sack the first 4 objectives of the game, go somewhere else on Summoner's Rift, give all the turret plates in the world to Praetor, chaperone him around Summoners, get him on a hyper-scaling 80 carry, and then flip the dice, on the 3rd or 4th dragon, because that's what they do. They're like a legacy junior, to me. And I've been really impressed with Western Way, actually. I think, much like you guys mentioned Curtis, I think Western Ways is another, system coach. He believes in the system that he rolls out. He's taken it to Europe, he's brought it back to Oceania, he's beaten it around enough times that he knows it inside and out, and I think that his system works for this Pentanet lineup. There are no ego players, much like Jules was saying. They will just play the game the way their coach wants them to play.
All right. Well, it's basically a team of no ego players going up a team of almost entirely ego.
Yes.
It is the ego versus the id with this series, and so let's get into it with game number 1. It is Order versus PGG, and it is coming up with the Macca's Champ Select.
Going into playoffs, energy is it's like this sort of nervous tension before a big moment type of thing. You can tell the atmosphere's changed, people are taking things seriously.
I think we're ready, yeah. When we're playing well and when the boys are on, I think we're the best team.
I was pretty much in this situation last year where you're so close and you're just at the final, the final hurdle, I guess. And this time I'm just working that 1% harder to make sure that, I don't make the same mistakes I did last year when I was given this opportunity. So, yeah.
I'm at that age where I don't need to play overseas or go overseas. I've sort of already missed that bus. So if I was able to just sort of end my career on a win, then that would be completely ideal. But who knows what the future will hold for me.
One down and one to go. Welcome back to our second quarterfinal of the night. It'll be Order taking on Pentanet.gg, as I am now joined by the lovely man himself in Big Rustdog to showcase what's going to happen here tonight. We've seen that during the regular season, Order hold the head-to-head 3-0, an emphatic victory on every single occasion. But you wiped the slate clean. That was the season. This is the playoffs. What do you have prepared in a best-of-5 series for us?
That's it. It was best of 1, Skimmy. We're up to best of 5s now, and one thing that we can say for certain is that Order as an organisation, Skimmy, have had a whole boatload of best of 5s in their repertoire. Where you look at the other side of the coin here, you've got Pentanet.gg, brand new organisation to the OPL. Some of these players, you would say, have existed in best of 5 series before a lot of times, where it is just the organisation that is going to be fresh. So some experienced veterans going head-to-head, but not necessarily in the same order that we have seen them before.
Certainly not. And what we are going to see is a fair few respect bands shown everywhere. Rogue is fresh. We know that he is one of the best fresh players, as is Ayla, but in recent times that is a pick that Rogue has made a name for himself, as is the set. We know that Parbu for such a long time, he was just religiously locking that in game after game without a doubt, and making sure that his link up with Get back in the mid lane just proved to have multi-kill success. But the response here from Pentanet after a solid super weak performance by them, remove away the Renekton, do not allow Sober to have that fun, as we've already got our ban and pick phase well underway.
Yeah, we've got the very early lock-in here of the Scottish Dryad Fawn-looking thing. Lilia is going to be locked in here for Parbu. That's not a surprise at all, though, to be honest with you. Parbu has been no-lifing that champion since the day that it came out, since the moment that it was available to be picked. And it also kind of goes into the narrative, and we'll get into this a little bit more as draft completes itself, of Order versus PGG. It's a pretty expected pick, really.
Oh, Hayri's going to feel pretty confident in this one. He's going to go for the blind pick in mid lane. Going to play his most Utilized champion this split in the Zoe. 6 games played so far. A solid win rate on it as well.
Okay.
He's going to see what he can do on it, and the Aphelios is going to be denied away, and that's interesting given the amount of options that are still available. We talk about Ezreal, Ashe, for instance.
Yeah.
Even the Jhin that Rare has not been too shy towards, but we know that Praetor loves to be invested into, and Aphelios with the Chakrams, if they do put him in a lane where they can get as many turret plates as possible, allows him to pop off big time.
And I was wondering, when we came into this draft, will we see just the Caitlyn banned constantly as well? You know, in other regions, NA today, we saw a lot of Caitlyn being given over to have the Ashe in response, but Caitlyn just seems like the dominant pick at the moment, so not going to be seen at all. It is curious that they are going to lock in Aphelios Skimmy, and like you mentioned, it feels like a takeaway, right? Because it's one of Praetor's champions, not so much one of Rare's go-to at the moment, but he has put a lot of time and work into the champion itself. It's not massively surprising to see that pick locked in for him. But they've gone for the Zoe with the Aphelios, where that could be an Ezreal, and that could be a composition. It's a little bit more variable now with that Aphelios, weapon dependent.
One thing that's worth noting is that in the last 8 games played here by Pentanet, they've never played the Karma in support. Neither has Get Back this entire season, so the Karma continues to be that flex pick, and kind of goes against the grain of what Rogue is known for. He likes to be aggressive. We talk about the likes of Nautilus, Fresh, even Bard when available. A bit of a similar crossover between himself and Ayla. It's going to be interesting to see where this Karma will end up, but all are going to do their research and show respect, as will Pentanet, and the Mundo Silent Clash will not take place here today.
No, not going to happen today. The one tricks for each respective top lane is going to be taken away. Something a little bit more standard to be expected here. However, it is the Renekton and the Scion taken off the board, so Swiper does see his champion pool challenged just a little bit more than normal here. And perhaps we get something different coming out of him, because remember, Swiper does play your standard meta tanks, but he also does play things that only he plays. You know, the Kleds are something that comes to mind. And what is the side of Order currently missing? It may be a form of Engage. You know, Swiper definitely capable of sitting in that side lane farming and scaling up with any type of top laner. But that's just Swiper's style. Occasionally he'll say, you know, it's game 1 of the best of 5. This is the game to do it. And he brings out that Kled, something of the likes. We'll see.
We've seen it before, and we've seen it find good success as well. They went for some crazy diving shenanigans. And much like a Bard wants to unlock the map, Kled can do the same with his ultimate running as well. Ayla's going to go in with the Leona, ensure that there's a ton of damage for Rare to follow up on. And it would seem that the Karma will be a support pick with that Galio now being put in through. And as you call, fantastic optimization here. The Kled will be locked in to round out this order comp.
Now you look at it the other side. You know, you can see your matchup. Do you want to be aggressive early game with something like the Fiora, or do you want to play the compositional answer, which is definitely what you would expect here from a side like Pentanet.gg. They've gone for the Camille. So now they have Camille Galio as a combo. They have the Ashe Arrow to engage. They've got the Lilia as well when it comes to team fighting. This is actually a fantastic composition overall here from the side of PGG. They have some laning strengths. They have a lot of team fighting, and it's super reliant now on being able to move around the map appropriately and getting to these team fights. And Hayri, you know, you might like being Zoe. You might like the fact that you can get into the middle of fight and put down some work. But if a Camille finds you, you're just done for with the follow-up combo. So it's a dangerous game to be a carry on Order.
You certainly are, and you raised some really good points, because there is definite strong engage potentials from either end. Obviously, you've both got the ability to put somebody to sleep, but the fact that Get Back can be kind of fluid in his ability to say, well, I want to fight, or I want to sort of counter-react. We've obviously got the Hero's Entrance that can trace up onto the Camille Hextech Ultimatum, make sure that whilst Camille becomes tankier and tankier, there is a taunt, there is a knock-up, there is damage to ensure that if you go on in as, say, a Leona or a Kled, you're unable to retreat as well. So a bit of an explosive start here, and I suppose characteristic of what both teams are looking to achieve. But do we feel that Pentanet have found a composition which can look to funnel Ashe, would you say?
I think they did. I mean, funneling Ashe is maybe not the way to play this one. I think what's interesting, though, Skimmy, is the Biopanther has kind of been given the prerogative here of being able to go forwards, get the farm, be the carrier of the team, right? Like,
yeah.
He kind of is filling that Chippy's role from Direwolves, where he needs to at least be even to come into those team fights. And Biopanther notoriously does prefer to go towards those tanks and be a role player for the team. And I think Camille is that nice middle ground, Skimmy, as we do get onto the Rift. But at the same time, you can't afford to fall behind. And you can't afford to give Swiper any kind of space to work with, because he has been a powerhouse this split.
He's been a powerhouse this split, and so has the team themselves. Order finishing off split 2 in second position, 15 wins to 6, and a 3-0 record over their opponents here today. Pentanet.gg take the third spot. They'll be looking to wipe that slate clean, forget about what happened then. We're focusing on the now. They made a few adaptations in the drafts. They have changed around who will be the focal point here today. We talk at great lengths as to how Praetor is funnel the resources, but as you touch on, it is going to be of great importance to see how BioPanther navigates the Camille. Excited here for our second quarterfinal of the night. Chiefs the first to progress on through to the semi-finals. And we'll see who gets to join them.
Yeah, big game here, and of course, this is the winners bracket, Skimmy. So if I'm correct, the loser of this one will take on the Chiefs in the lower bracket. The winner of this will take on Legacy in round 2 of playoffs. That is if I am reading the graphic correctly, and it's entirely possible that I'm not. But nevertheless, it is our first look at a best of 5 here for both of these teams in this split, Skimmy, and it's just super exciting because we get to see not just performance, but adaptation. And already in game 1, you know, Swiper comes out, he has his signature pick. BioPanther's gone for a carry, they've gone for these combos, and it's not just the one and done gameplay, because these carry through for the rest of the series, and what happens now has a big influence on the rest of it.
It certainly does, and it's interesting to sort of note because we saw it happen in Split 1, how we coined it the Order playoff buff. They definitely found their stride a lot earlier this time around. In Week 5 was the first time they got that clean 2-0 weekend. And they continued it on for a perfect round robin in the second rotation. They'll be looking to try and tap into some of that magic and showcase why they are the second seed coming into these playoffs. But as for Pentanet, whilst it was a little bit of a slower start for them, Pabu has adjusted to this jungle role exceptionally. We talk about him being very aggressive at good times, wanting to sacrifice CS just to get his lanes ahead. And it's going to be interesting to see how he navigates to Lilia, because we've seen it tonight to very different degrees of success. Whether or not he'll be able to utilize the passive and have fantastic kite potential.
And I think once again, you know, Pabu has gone for the Dark Harvest on this Lilia. I see no reason to go any kind of other summoner spell, to be honest, a Keystone Summoner, honestly. When you're in the jungle role, we saw a Phase Rush earlier in the day as well, that's a possibility. But I think Dark Harvest is just the best one to go for when you're jungling. Solo lanes may be a different conversation, you've got your Conqueror, your Fleet Footwork, but Pabu's gone for the Tried and True here, pretty much the standard as far as runes go. Also, starting on the top side of the map, is going to path down towards his blue buff. One of the big differences where people may compare Lilia to something like a Hecarim is that you won't just completely run yourself out of mana in that first clear. He will run as he goes to the blue buff, but that's the purpose of the pathing here. He's going to path towards bot side, where his Ashe and his Karma will have permanent priority. And as long as the top side of the map respects his Skimmy, PGG in a pretty good stead.
PGD will be hoping that is what they're after. BioPanther has not opted for the grass, wants to go for Conqueror, wants to be the damage dealer. And he's going to be going into Only, who has had his best split, you'd say, on this Nidalee. 4 games, 4 wins. He's running Electrocute, wants to blow somebody up nice and quickly. And wants to get a bit of trade in this AP jungle matchup. Interesting to see where he turns his attention to and how he looks to try and match that of the Lilia.
Yeah, also unsealed spellbooks for both mid laners here. There's always possibilities of other runes for both respective players. You know, get back if he feels the need, like a melee champion, you might go for your Aftershocks, that kind of play style. Zoe could consider the Comet or the Airy as well, even Electrocute in certain matchups, but Unsealed Spellbook just seems to be the go-to at the moment. It gives you pretty set windows of when you have kill threat. You know, you hit 6 minutes in, you switch to Ignite, and suddenly you take the all-in threat, similar to top lane with Ornn. But it does mean that they'll have a lot more rotations of their summoner spells as the game progresses, and that's important. It's Only having a look.
He's having a look, and that might be all it is at this stage, as he was revealed by a ward, has the Zombie Ward trait as well, so can replace the vision that once belonged to Pentanet. And we're really seeing the strength of what happens when a poke support goes into that hard engage. A big reason why Ashe and Karma rose to fruition is the fact that they can do stuff like this and just force you to be run on down. Doesn't matter who the target is, it could be Rare, it could be Ayla. Praetor pops that flash, finds one with the auto, now receives a heal, wants to run down a second, but there's the teleports. Auto want to respond, here comes Harry looking for the flash, he denies away a summoner, puts you to sleep, takes out your summoner too. Won't be able to connect, however, with that Paddle Star. And just picks up summoners as quickly as you're forced to rotate through them. He's unable to get a trade back, as first blood will go to Praetor.
And I'm sure Hayri could tell you exactly what summoner spells were used in that bottom lane skirmish, Skibby, because he just walks on over and picks them all up. He's going to walk his way back towards mid lane now. Teleport used. He's not going to be too far behind in CS either. So honestly, that is a decent teleport here coming out of the mid laner of Order, where unfortunately he doesn't find himself any kills. They will have those summoner spells now working in their favor. Unfortunate stuff, though, in bot lane. You can see the pressure of an Ashe Karma, and you acknowledge, of course, that Lilia was on the bottom side of the map. So that wasn't the safest place to be, and it means there was no real reinforcements. It was difficult to get in there. Only sweeps a ward and says, okay, that's me done. And unfortunately, that was just a little bit too much space for PGG's 2v2.
A bit too much space, a little less HP for Ayla to try and turn around and flash aggressively underneath that turret. But now he's going to make something happen elsewhere. Pabu fails the flash to disengage away. Ayla sets it up and only secures that. That hits his first kill before the level 6 mark. That's a fantastic little interaction between those two as we now look towards the top side. Swiper's going to be dismounted. BioPanther's going to cop a bit of a beating, and both will walk away at 50%.
Yeah, BioPanther level 6 to 5 at the time of that fight. Was a little bit surprised he didn't actually commit to that one, but chooses not to take the fight. Nevertheless, he can deal with a dismounted Kled. There's Order on the other side of the map. You saw that first pick onto Pabu. Fantastic combo coming out of a Leona with the Sunlight procs on a Nidalee Spear. Just one taps Pabu. Tragic flash from him in the end, but the objective secured here as well. And Order, honestly, you could expect from this position to be able to flip the map as they please. They're going to look... fine.
That could have been a max range Sleepy Trouble bubble that no doubt Hayri would have been keen to execute upon. He has all his summons available. And we'll have a whole host, as you've already acknowledged, with the Unsealed Spellbook to continue to make it a bit of a sore point for Pentanet to deal with. Swiper's going to return to this lane. He's picked up some items to try and match the dueling potential that this Sheen will offer BioPanther. And he's going to say, it's time to fight. There goes the ultimate. This is what his composition is built to do. Here's the hero's entrance. There's the flash away. And here's the taunt. You can't find Sanctuary underneath that turret. And that's going to be a kill picked up in the top lane. And that's going to try and keep Swiper at bay.
And that's sick moves here coming out of PGG. Not only do they get the kill, it's just after the teleport. They saw the flash used there as well. And that's a massive advantage for Camille in this top lane as the wave crashes. Big experience lead. Turret platings as well to go her way. BioPanther's going to be a monster. And that's the first of many combos, Skimmy, that we'll start to see here come out of this duo as they run around the rift.
We saw it, and now we understand its full potential. And it has made Swiper's life in his top lane a living nightmare. Doesn't have a teleport to return back to this one. Lost a little bit underneath it, and is now going to be at a bit of a level deficit as well when these items come on through. But BioPanther is going to be well ahead of the clock when it comes to a Trinity Fall. She's probably looking around the 10 to 12 minute mark, and his ability then to not only win that trade, but to cause chaos when he groups up for a team fight as well. The Dragon is picked up so far here by Order.
Oh.
The Herald is a distant afterthought at this stage as well, and game on really fair for Order as to what is their strength as it stands, because bot lane is not any easier. They don't have level 6 just yet, and Unless says, I'm not going to be forced to run on down this time. He turns around with his Zenith Blade and instantly regrets his decision, because wherever they engage, Pentanet responds. Back-to-back team fights have gone the way of Pabu. He's been top lane, he's been bot lane, he's here to pick up an assist, and he's here to get the ball rolling. The Pentanet bot duo from start to finish have absolutely smurfed this lane setup, and Pradev, he's huge. He's already 2-0-1.
And this is big from PGG in a macro sense, right? They know exactly where Only is. They use the Hawk shot from Ashe, and that sets up the play. And to think that that is the specific precursor of a 4-man dive in bottom lane that's wildly successful, and then they juggle the aggro and mechanically play it out perfectly as well. It's just good, all class, coming out of our red side here. Order, of course, they will get themselves the Herald, so let's acknowledge that they were playing on their side of the map. It's just that we're going to credit the immediate response with no hesitation coming out of Get Back, as well as Pabu, to be bottom lane instantly. They know exactly what they need to do, and they punish brilliantly.
Order were known as one of the teams that like to be nice and aggressive in the early game, like to get these games done and dusted very quickly. But if Pentanet having this strong of an early game, you start to get worried how it transitions to mid to late game, which is what they built their brand upon. At the 10-minute mark, they are up by 2k gold. They found decisive kills in all the right areas, and they have made sure that their win conditions are the ones that receive those resources. Camille, well ahead of the cock, and the same could be said here for the Ash. The two big focuses, you'd have to say, of the stand-up performance, and the composition proving wonders so far.
And Ash with money is a very big deal, you know. You don't often look at Ash and say this is the hyper carry of the team or anything of the likes, right? But when an Ash gets money, it 100% can be. You've got a team comp. Oh, hang on.
Ult after ult, he has no cleanse, he's going to get run on down again. There goes the Tether, he tries to use the ultimate, the Moonlight Vigil with the heal as well. It's just not enough. Every single time Pensnet show up, Pabu is there. And this is really what he does. Forget clear, I just want to gank. And I gank, and now Ash is 4-0. How do you stop him?
Yeah, and look, Skibby, the bottom lane of order is 0-5 here. This doesn't get better. And that's the thing. You know, Ash, we just said, may not be a carry, but if you give money, is very threatening. And just take a second, right? Look at the difference in items right now. We press that tab. It's a Blade of the Ruined King to Berserker Greaves and a pickaxe. There is 0 worlds where Praedyth loses that trade. Even if there's no cleanse, even if there is a cleanse from Rare, you just throw it out, throw out the Ash Arrow, force the cleanse, and just nuke them with a Karma as well, and you still win the trade. There's just no situation where Order have a 2v2 anymore. We already saw what can happen in top lane. If Galio's up there as well, this is just a terrifying game state to be Order in. This is not the way you want to start your best of 5 series if you're Order. But damn, PGG doing it right with macro as well.
They've definitely eradicated the concerns of what could have been a bit of a scary head-to-head between these two. They've shown up on game number 1 right now. And to talk about what it is for Order, they don't have the engage, don't have the damage, don't have the numbers to stick around. But this is BioPanther doing a bit of a questionable decision right now. This is solid for the lock him in place. They're just going to pick him up for free, or will they? There's the passive, there's Hextech would have made him. He lives for such a long time. But it will be in the end Swiper that picks up the gold. Ayla survives. The Herald falls on down, but this should be the first turret to equalize things out here.
And I mean, that wasn't necessary from BioPanther. He didn't have his flash up. It's just about to be available now. And yes, he had the ultimate. So his mind may well be set on, I will outplay the first stun, get the adaptive shield, and maybe I trade. But like, I still feel like I watched that. My only outcome in my head is he trades. So it's not necessary from BioPanther at all. You're winning elsewhere on the map. You can save the teleport for something else. You'll be able to match Swiper's TP that's going to be up and available. You've got the Drake. You've got the bot lane outer turret. So maybe just call it a day and give them what they've earned. But it's a good punish from Order with no hesitation.
Look what it meant for now that top lane matchup has brought Swiper back into this game. And whilst Pabu has been omnipresent on this map to assist his laners in getting these big leads, which you can see in that bot lane specifically, you're looking at about 2.5 to 3k gold in favor for this Ash. Only has been silently farming up a Storm. He's got a 1k lead himself, so making sure that when he does decide to shop for a fight with this Runic Echoes built, that spear is going to pack a big, big punch.
We're at the point where Pabu's jungle clear is also rapidly accelerated here as well on that Lilia. One of the comparisons that I made earlier, as we're going to go to sleep quickly here in mid lane, cop a quick smack. One of the comparisons that I made earlier here, Skimmy, is that Nidalee and Lilia feel very similar in the way that they jungle. Nidalee has a slight advantage in clear speed early, but once you get that jungle item, once you hit level 9 as Lilia, your clear speed's very quick, and you do a lot of those AoE camps quickly, which is the same with Nidalee. And now at this point he's going to at least be able to match the clear speed of the Nid. The question is, what will they be able to provide to the rest of the map? Nidalee has the Zoe combo in mid lane if they're able to sleep somebody. Some serious damage comes across. But Lilia can kind of go everywhere right now.
Certainly can, and has been so far in this series as we approach the 15-minute mark. And whilst there has been a lot of hype and attention shown the way of Pensnet, Order have done a fantastic job of stabilizing by farming up a Storm. You're looking at some sizable leads in all the right areas so far. 20 in the jungle, 20 in the mid lane. And just making sure that the gold lead has not ballooned away from them. It's only a 1k gap at this stage. A Dragon apiece as it stands, and a Herald to spawn in just under a minute.
The objective game has been pretty well matched here so far. That's the one thing, you know, that they're not running away with objective control here, PGG. Order still have some say in that. Unfortunately for them, though, their bottom lane really has no say in the state of this game in general. That's probably the biggest difference maker here. Pabu's going to throw his bowling ball into the wall. Don't know if you can test this one though,
representation
Skimmy.
of the Lilia, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, okay. Lilia is maybe the best champion in the game for just that E. Because you spawn, most junglers will run to their camps as Lilia, you just run towards mid lane, throw a bowling ball down, and then go to your camps. If it hits, you've just hit a global sleep and you've won mid lane while you're doing your jungle camps. What's better than that?
You're just a different variant, really, of Carfish. You're not global, but you're essentially, in a way, are. And that will be the Herald picked up here by Pensnet, will be Pabu, who will be able to utilize it. The question is, what lane will he want to deploy it in, as Auto are going to take this opportunity in the game to try and get some structural impact of their own. We are all locked up here at 1 turret to 1, with opposite side of the map being where they have been taken so far. But Swiper's going to put in some serious work here with that Black Cleaver. So what is the Tiamat to shred through this wave and ensure that another turret will go their way.
Yep, definitely building for that team fighting strength here as well. Most likely the Titanic Hydra next for the Kled. And once again, that'll all be about taking out individual targets, but still being able to team fight nicely or as best as you can. They also definitely need that physical damage when it comes to the big fights. As unfortunately that Aphelios is quite a while away from finding his years of experience. Maybe too far gone to ever find them, to be honest with you. Especially when you compare him to the strengths of Praedyth, as they're only increasing.
You do get a little bit concerned, don't you, when you see that Praedyth is well on his way to getting that second item. You see that come on through before perhaps a first big item spike for the Aphelios, and you say, well, how do we even look to fight? What is our objective in this game? Are we banking our hopes on the rest of the team to try and navigate us through and hope that this gold lead doesn't balloon to maybe a 5k gap at this stage? Another Dragon will be spawning in just under 25 seconds as Pensnet aggressively shove through mid, and will summon the Herald as well.
Yeah, post 14 minutes means no strength in those platings. This turret is just going to fall down no matter what. They're not going to be able to take it down before the charge. Herald probably not going to get a second charge off here either, as they are going to back away and look towards the Drake as it spawns here. Rare also going to cash in that coal stack, Skimmy, so a bit of extra money into his pockets, but he's not going to be able to shop for the fight. And that's really the story here, is I don't even know if Order consider this one at all. They're just going to have to concede the Drake. And it's an Ocean Soul as well, so the first of potentially many going into the hands of PGG.
Pensnet will pick up the Ocean Dragon, as you highlight. But that's not without Order making some trades of their own. They put a lot of pressure into that top turret, opening up a condition for them to play around. And buying as much time as possible to allow Rare to find that first item spike. And there it is. The Cole cashed in and the CS enough to ensure that an Infinity Edge can come through. The first of many power spikes to look forward to. And he's grateful because the fact that Praedyth was so far ahead, if he hadn't achieved that, the Runans was there, and Pensnet, even if Order weren't keen for a fight, would be hunting them out.
I think he's grateful that laning phase finally kind of ended. You know, he's grateful that the turret just went down in bottom lane. That opened him up to be a little bit more safe in mid. You know, being in that very short wave, lane, rather, with the cleanse available. Does mean that Praedyth can't just continue to throw arrows at his face until they connect. So he's actually in a position where the game kind of stagnates. And one thing to point out here is that the gold difference is only 400, right? And it's weird to consider that. If you look at where, there's so much difference between top and jungle, right? That's where their first Herald was placed. That's where a lot of the pressure was placed by Only. But man, the difference in gold between bot lane is if the fight ever involves Praedyth, he has a big say on the outcome of that fight.
It certainly is. And I mean, we touched on it about 5 minutes ago, right? And it's just big credit to Order to say, we understand that this Ashe is a monster right now. The laning phase definitely did not go the way we hoped. But we're going to ensure that gold lead continues to be as close as it can be. Obviously, that's assisted a little bit by the kill they managed to pick up on Biopanther when summoning the Herald top lane. But the individual CS leads, I should say, are allowing them to buy extra time, which they so desperately need, and not feel so rushed to contest neutrals like the Dragon, as you've seen them so far. And now Baron, not enough of a lead at this stage for Pensnet to really make something happen. But it will be interesting to see how to try and navigate this game, because I think we've been critical at times when Pensnet, or Praedyth in particular, has been really, really fed. Yeah. He's not utilising that time to say, well, let's fight. Let's utilise, let's showcase what we can do with it. So be keen to see, with this composition that is no doubt wanting to fight, how to do it this time around.
We've both praised and criticised them for it, right? One of the biggest problems that we had with PGG's playstyle is they'll get an advantage, they'll sit here in mid-game when they put Praedyth in mid, and then they'll do nothing for 25 minutes. and they'll just bank on that one team fight to end the game, you know? And that's the type of play style that kind of opens you up to risks, right? If you haven't come to that one team fight in a position where you will just win no matter what, then why are you even ahead in the early game? Just pick something that scales more and just continue to go neutral. But they've picked a strong, decent early game composition through their strong early laning phase. They've used their ult combo once this game. What we're looking at is, can they do it a second time? Can they do it a third time? Will these objectives be contested? Because that seems like that's the avenue of entry here for PGG. Because if the objectives aren't contested, Order are just going to continue to buy themselves time, Skibby. And that raises the question on, do they outscale? And I don't think Order can outscale unless this Aphelios continues to match farm of Praedyth and somehow hits 4 items.
You're really kind of hoping that Rare taps into some of the Madman antics or Split 1, right? Of where he tried to make those montage plays, perhaps a little bit of what we saw with Vital there, just dashing in, hoping for the best, making a risk, and seeing if the payoff is huge enough to turn this game around. Because as it stands, the trajectory continues at this kind of pace. You know that Praedyth has the hands to execute on a champion like this, and they have a composition that is well equipped to protect him and ensure that he is able to play the game. And he's optimizing into a death stance as well. Well, he's got not only a ton of damage, but a lot of mitigation to survive as well.
Yeah, the great thing about Praedyth is he definitely does have the hands. And now he's definitely getting the itemization choices for that one also. When you look at the engage from the opposing team here as well, Skimmy, what things will take Praedyth down? You've got the Leona as the major tool, and to go with the Kled, the two big things that would be looking to threaten him. Now, you do have a Cleanse. You potentially may have a Mikhail's from Rogue as well. And if that's the case, then I really don't know how you stop Praedyth from just standing still and being an absolute laser turret and just auto-attacking.
I'm really hoping that Harry can continue to become as strong as that right there.
Rogue just healed. Surely that wasn't necessary.
He was terrified. And perhaps rightfully so, because that is going to be the lockdown, just like you said. It's Parbu that flashes to the safety of the turret. The redemption too little and too late. Get back gets rooted.
He's asleep.
But at the 22-minute mark, the Order boys finally shop and say, we think we're strong enough. We've kept this gold lead close enough. We found that pick. Now we can find our first dragon.
And that's actually a really big win for Order, not just for the pick, Skimmy, but for the fact that they got 2 teleports out of Get Back and Biopanther, and Swiper didn't use his at all. He was just able to cheat his way to the area where they were looking for these skirmishes. They punished so brilliantly with Hayri hitting the bubble after bubble. And then you've got the follow-through of Ayla. No cleanse available for Parbu this time. He tries to flash himself to safety, but to no avail by any means. And that's big. Order now have 5 minutes on the board with just control of the map if they would like.
Oh, the control of this map, and it sort of full circles back to the point from before. Did Pentanet do enough with this early lead? However, Order found an avenue to get themselves back into this game. They'll get their first dragon. They're going to find themselves some bounties as well as Danidley continues to just accelerate in this jungle position. Going to be the first one to hit that Zhonya's, no doubt. As speaking of the devil, it will be Harry that picks up the first in this game. That's going to be matched here by Get Back, so both the initiators or both the ones looking for the picks will be able to buy a fair bit of time and hope that their team as a whole can finish the job.
Yeah, I like that you bring up Zhonya's because there is actually something to consider here with top laners and building them. That's actually a big part of this combo. If you're playing the Camille Galio combo, there's usually 2 major item breakpoints for when the team fighting is going to be at its strongest. One of them is when you've got the stopwatch, because then you can engage no matter what. You can take these really crazy and risky engages and just use the stopwatch and Galio will hit no matter what. And that's your follow-up. Option 2 is the GA. Once you've got the Guardian Angel, which of course does build out of that, then you'll have the same option. Until such a point, most of the time when you're looking to go forwards and hit that ultimate, lock someone down, you're probably going to be sacrificing yourself for that. That means that Order can kind of stand and deliver damage as a response. So right now, while we have a Zhonya's from Get Back, and that does mean he'll be able to prolong his life in these team fights, maybe get an extra cycle of spells off, it's not the same for Biopan.
Certainly isn't. And one person it's worth noting is Only. He's got a 2-level lead in this jungle. He's finding himself a huge lead, and Ayla dives on in to force the engage. He's now going to be the one that gets collapsed upon us on a fight on 2 different fronts. The pop is very low, doesn't want to fall on down, doesn't have a cleanse. but doesn't need it, as he will be allowed to run back into safety. Here comes Kled, the ultimate puts him on turbo speed. They're trying to take down Get Back. He's bleeding and burning, and he will eventually fall on down. That's the third kill. There's the spear, and is it going to be an empowered leap? I don't think he wants to. He knows they're Pentanet in the area. They found themselves safety underneath that turret, but the fight won't stop there. Oh no, it most certainly will not. That's the first time Predator's really been pressured this game. He'll be forced to burn both of those summoners, and that is a fantastic acquisition here for Order, because it means that now that Ash, despite his strength, can't afford to play so aggressively.
Yeah, the team not there for PGG, and it seems like the target that they've chosen to go on was Ayla, who had the Gargoyle Stone Plate prepared, so he survives. And then it's just a matter of waiting for the reinforcements to arrive, and, Kled sounds the alarm and they're in. The fight's on, and it's just really easy stuff here from Order, which is crazy to say. We are even in gold right now, and it definitely feels like somehow, against a 4-0 Ash, Order are in control of this game.
Order want to make it 5 games from 5 on this Nidley. It has been one of only's best champions this split long, and he's putting in another solid performance here today. Get to see how he looks to try and continue this pressure, because that damage is hurting. It's allowing the life of Hayri and Rare to become a little bit easier. And speak of him, he's now got himself that Rune Dance. He's got himself a stopwatch as well. And whilst both of these AD carries will not have a cleanse going into this 5th Dragon, he will have a flash advantage. If he's got the right weapon set up, that could be a huge advantage for him to try and play around. So I suppose you now start to turn the attention on towards Biopanther. Not too far away from level 16. How will he look to try and navigate it with his teleport coming up shortly?
Biopanther playing very defensive there for good reason, of course. He has no control of the topside river. He's actually moving down for a potential flank here, but is he caught?
Certainly could be. And Rare's got the ideal weapon set up there. But the sniper, the chakrams, the damage, and the potential to lock somebody down. They buffed the Moonlight Vigil there with a Hexagol to made him. Hookshot 1 and Hookshot 2. Can he have enough distance closed? He finds himself a heal. Death Dance is OP. The mitigation and the sustain. And a big collapse takes place top lane, but with the assistance of a flash and team members around him ready to back him up, he manages to just survive.
And we had the advantage of God Vision, right, being spectators, so we knew full well that he was walking into the waiting arms of Order, but perhaps that was something that PGG weren't fully aware of. Order are going to be hitting the Baron here, Skimmy. Teleports are coming in, and it's already at half HP. Rare could get put to sleep here as well.
And he is. He's going to instantly hit that stopwatch. He's going to be taunted as soon as he comes out of this one, but he dodges the arrow. It's not enough. He's gone. Taking out the fight straight away. What can Order do in a 4v5 situation? That's going to be Kled dismounted, exhausted, and deleted. They started the Baron. They thought they had enough to say, we get a big buff. This is our ticket back into game number 1. But Pentanet commit the teleport. They commit the team fight, and they find the kills.
Yeah, and credit to PGG for committing to the follow-up there, making sure that there was no Baron from Order, but Order choosing to stay in the pit gets slowed by the Lilia E, and they put him to sleep, and Rare chooses, instead of just going to sleep, to use the stopwatch into the waiting arms of Get Back, and that gives them the Baron, gives them the team fight as well. And now they're just going to walk straight back over to the Drake pit as well here, pick themselves up the sole point with this Ocean Drake, and that was a reach from Order, and that was a reach that was punished very well.
Big tempo advantage achieved by them. Pentanet going to be ecstatic with how that play unfolded. The ability to navigate between a Baron, then to ensure the Dragon. And to say that whilst this isn't the quickest of the souls, this is one that definitely favours our play style. That's going to be a Ocean Soul for them to look forward to. They've already got themselves 2 to their name. That's going to be a ton of sustain. It's going to be quite difficult to try and push your way through. And without any healing cut at this stage, it's definitely an opportunity for Order to say, well, what can we do? We're going to be fully reliant on Kled, really, to try and shut that down. He has optimized for the team fight strength, as you already mentioned. He's not too far away from the Death Stance as well. And that stopwatch could come in clutch in these next few skirmishes up in, say, what, 4 minutes?
Yeah, Biopanther seems like he's going to be going towards the Sterax himself here. May well be a Titanic Hydra also, but that's something that's just been delayed a little bit here for both respective top laners. Oh, Biopanther, speaking of.
Yeah, Ayla wanted to rise up to the occasion. He popped the stone plate. And as soon as he jumped in, he realized he needed to jump back out. That's going to be a route. That's going to be a sleepy trouble bubble. And that's going to be Biopanther needing bodies in the way to prevent that damage. There's the hero's entrance. Pavu going gold. And as he comes on out, there's a taunt, there's a damage, and Get Back. What was that? The Proto Belt, a double kill. The big man himself, known for some of the biggest solo kills in this league. And he just swipes the floor in the bottom lane. We've got the Baron. We've got the ability. We're not going to give you any form of comeback potential here.
And they're just going to continue to push into bottom lane now. 3 members dead. Hayri against the Baron buff means that Zoe can't clear these waves either. This may well be the game, Skimmy, for game number 1 of this best of. PGG, they punish so incredibly well, and they're going for it.
They certainly are. Hayri, the last one here on the base defense duties. You can see that Oni is pushing mid-wave, doing whatever he can. He's trying to keep his minions off that turret. The second one's about to fall on down as order respawn, but all attention goes towards that Nexus. A disgusting performance. Angry B emotes all around. Pinsnet will start off our second quarterfinal with a dub.
And what an unusual game here, Skimmy. There was people that have finished that game without even dying on the side of Order, and they lost the entire game. That was how crazy that was. A single fight in bottom lane. A well-timed play and well-placed fight as well. And I encourage people to watch that one back and actually look at what Pabu does in the fight, because he tanks the Kled ultimate, then uses his ultimate, puts everyone to sleep in Zonius to keep himself alive, which effectively saves the Camille's life and gives them the team fight victory. Nice team fighting by PGG.
Beautiful team fight. A solid performance also there by Get Back to showcase that our composition has an idea, but it can also do so much more than the Camille, Galio interference that we saw in that top lane to start off this game. It's a solid performance by Pentnet. They'll find that first victory here in the series. We're going to jump to a quick break and get ourselves geared up for game number 2.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
It's got it! This is deadly! It's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.